This podcast is not a substitute for a relationship with your mental health professional. Hey, family, and welcome back to another episode of the Mental Health is a Lifestyle podcast with your girl, Andrea Wise-Brown. Hi, family. I am so happy once again to be back here another week, connecting to you, family, connecting to you. This is my one of my little safe spaces, and a space that I have created to connect to you. To you. Yep, to you. Oh, and if you haven't joined the family yet and you're just scrolling by, please, or if you've watched or listened to the podcast or video, please always subscribe to the podcast. I would love for you to click that little subscription button, click the bell so you get notifications when a new episode is up. Like it. If you like it, like it. Please comment. If you feel froggy, jump. Comment. If there's something that I've said that you don't understand, you want clarity, something that you may agree with, or maybe even something that you don't agree with. As long as it's respectful, comment and then share. Share. If it resonates with you and you think it might resonate, whatever we talk about that week, if you think that episode may resonate with someone else, please share the love, share it. So this week, family, we are going to talk about the state of being alone versus the state of being lonely. Okay, so there is a difference. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this up, family, is because, we are in the holiday season. And, we just had Thanksgiving, right? Last week. So we just had Thanksgiving. We experienced Thanksgiving. And, as I've been seeing clients, there has been this theme that has been coming up, and it's this whole theme of being alone during the holidays, or what does it feel like to be alone? Or, I've been told, like, Andrea, I don't want to be alone, and so I really wanted to just take some time to talk about being alone and loneliness, because, family, there's a difference. There is a difference. Okay, so let me just say that being alone is a state. It's like a state of being. So right now, in my office slash, I'm gonna say slash, in my office slash podcast studio, I am alone. Yeah, because there's no other person in here, even like a little furry person, a little dog, or a little cat. Like, there's no one else in here except me. So it's a state of being. So I am alone. Versus loneliness. So loneliness is about a feeling. It's a feeling of being isolated, being away, disconnected from others. It's a feeling, because this is the deal. I'm here alone, right? And I don't feel lonely. But the reality is I or you could actually be in a room. I could be here and I could have 2, 1, 3, 5 other people here in this same space. And I could not be alone, but I could feel lonely. Got me? So loneliness is a feeling, right? And it's a feeling, as I said, of feeling isolated from others or disconnected from others. Okay. It also looks like a feeling of emptiness, maybe a feeling of being unwanted, a feeling of chronically, if you to tell yourself the story that I'm always going to be alone, or I am always alone, no one wants to be around me. And so you kind of create a situation where there's this fear or this thought of chronically being alone. Yeah. But I'm just here to tell you that being alone, right, and feeling lonely is two different things. All right. And so during the holidays, as I've been talking to people, they've been talking about this thought process of, being alone, or the fear of being alone, or feeling lonely. And let me just say this. And so this is for me. So y'all know I always pull in my little personal story. So during this time of year for me, I am facing some different challenges. So I will say that, for years, I'm the person who loves to host events at my house. Like, I love, love, love to host events at my house, meaning, what is it for, like, Thanksgiving, for Christmas, I love to have people over. I love to play games. And I love to be the one up at the front, playing the games. You know what I'm saying? I like to be the Steve Harvey of all of the games. Okay, y'all got what I'm saying? Okay. And so this year was different for me. Now the holidays are just starting, but this holiday of Thanksgiving, I wasn't hosting an event. I wasn't really going to be the Steve Harvey of the games. I find joy in people coming over and laughing and just providing unlimited food. Like, that's something that I have found joy in. You know what I'm saying? Like, all of my adult life. And this year, I was facing something different. So I was not going to host the event at my house. And I don't even know if you guys listened to or watched the episode last week where I was talking to Dr. Creative, and Creative asked me, what was I going to do for the holiday? And I told him that this was going to be a different holiday. And that I don't think that I actually told him that my daughter wasn't going to be near me, because y'all know I talk about my daughter all the time, and we are like this. And so usually every holiday we are together and we are like this. Well, what's so interesting is, as we mature, as we get older, and we get in these serious relationships, you have to switch off with holidays with your family. I mean, with your different families, right? So the person that you're dating, usually they'll share one holiday with you. You'll share the other holiday with them. And so this year, she spent the holiday with her boyfriend and her boyfriend's family, which I was ecstatic about. Like, I think that's a great thing. However, it was different for me, right? Because my girl wasn't with me. So, okay, I'm knowing that I'm going to face this holiday, and I'm going to face this holiday, but this is the thing, family. I am going to face this holiday not necessarily alone, but even if I did face the holiday alone, for me, it was still going to be okay. So let me give you the caveat. The caveat to me being alone and being okay with being alone is because I know that being alone for me is a choice. I do not feel lonely, right? I don't feel lonely. I don't feel empty. I don't feel like I'm unwanted. I know I'm wanted and I'm pretty full. And I definitely don't feel like I'm gonna be in this chronic state of always being alone. I understand that for me, right, family? And I'm saying this because I want you guys to get something always from when I come up here. This is my work to you. I am trying to empower you or enlighten you in some way. So take my story, and then you can put yourself in my shoes, or maybe someone that you know in my shoes, and maybe it will give you a shift in perspective. And I'm hoping to empower you to move in some way, either to create change in your life or to encourage someone else to create change in their lives. Okay. So getting back to me not feeling lonely, but being okay with being alone. So let me just say, so for me, as an introvert that I am, and so as an introvert, let me finish my sentence. I enjoy time alone. I really do. I recharge when I'm alone. So me being alone, there's no issue, there's no problem. I enjoy being alone. Even when I'm like around lots of other people, even when I travel, you know what I'm saying? But when I travel with other people, I am always finding some time to kind of get into a space and a place where I'm alone. So that's even if we traveling, I may go to the gym. You know what I'm saying? Like by myself in the mornings or whatever time, or maybe take a walk, or there's always some time that I need. And if you're an introvert, this is true for you too, that you need to kind of be by yourself so you can recharge. Okay, so that's why the thought of me being alone is it's not a scary thought for me at all, right? Because there's some benefit for me in being alone. Now, I can understand if you are an extrovert and you recharge from spending your time around other people, right? So the energy of others make you feel like, okay, you, like, I'm getting recharged. In the same way, it gives you energy, a spike in energy. The same way that me being by myself gives me a spike in energy. It really does. So I can understand an extrovert probably listening to this is like, oh my God, what do you mean? You okay with being alone? But let me just say this to you. The reality is that both are okay, right? So for an introvert, being alone and liking to be alone, that's cool. That's healthy. It's normal. For an extrovert to recharge from being around other people, that is cool. That is normal. However, it can be unhealthy on both sides if you are extreme with both of those different sides, right? So to the point of, if I always spent time alone and didn't spend time around friends and or family and got out the house, there would be a problem. There'd be a problem. And it probably would turn into me isolating myself, which could also be a symptom of some depression. Okay. And on the opposite side, right, for people who are extroverts, if you are never spending any time alone, because there's power in it where you can ground yourself, where you can get to know yourself, you can figure out your thoughts. If you aren't spending enough time doing that and you spending all of your time around other people, always around other people, always have to be around them, that's not healthy either. Because what that can do is raise your anxiety and your feeling of loneliness. Loneliness in a space of when you're in a room and have all these people, but you're still feeling some sense of isolation, or you start to feel disconnected from all of the people. You can get to a place where the people now are, you really are, it's like a numbing effect. It's a numbing effect where you really feel nothing. Like there's nothing more to feel from all these other people. And you start to feel unfulfilled. So then you keep chasing that. And it can turn into a lot of anxiety because you can't get enough or you can't find that feeling. And also depression because you get lost. You cannot find yourself. Like you won't be able to find enough. Okay. So both extremes, the extreme of both ways, extrovert being around a whole bunch of people and an introvert being alone too much, on both sides, if you would look at both of those on a continuum, if you were to do the extremes on both, they could both be unhealthy. But what we're talking about today is I want to check on you, and I want to make sure that you are clear about the difference between being alone and feeling lonely. And I want to make sure that if you are choosing to be alone, that you are healthy in that. So, there's some healthy things that you can do while you're alone. So while you're alone, you can ground yourself, right? You can do some grounding, where you can kind of get clear about your thoughts. You can journal, which is really good. You can get a whole bunch of thoughts out of your head, and that happens in a healthy way when you're alone. You can do yoga. You can do yoga while you're alone. You can go take long walks or short walks while you're alone. You can do some meditation while you are alone. And all of those things are healthy to do while being alone. Okay? Because they add benefits to your mental health. However, a feeling of loneliness. So if you're alone and you're not choosing to be alone, and sometimes that could happen when you're not choosing to be alone and you find yourself alone a lot, then that can be detrimental also. So you remember I told you about some isolation that can really turn into some depression, and addictive behaviors can happen when you're alone and you have a sense or a feeling of loneliness. And this is the part where it gets unhealthy. So if you're alone and you start to feel an emptiness, or you start to feel like maybe I'm alone because I'm unwanted, or I'm alone because that chronic thing, I'm always going to be alone, I want you to be careful, because some red flags of this feeling of loneliness could look like overeating, over drinking. It could look like a whole bunch of over sexing, sex addiction. It could look like porn addiction, and all of those things are unhealthy. Too much of anything is unhealthy. Now, a little bit of everything might be okay. Maybe I should take that back. Not a little bit of everything, but a little bit of some things can be okay and healthy. But a little bit of those same things, a lot of them can really be destructive and can destroy your life. So you have to be careful, when you are indulging in activities, distractors outside of yourself to comfort you if you are feeling lonely. Okay? If you're feeling lonely. So, let me just tell you, family, I just want to really just let you know that so from an introvert like myself, when the holiday was approaching, and this was Thanksgiving, when it was approaching, my daughter said to me, "So, Mom, what are you going to do? Like, what you going to do?" Right? Because she's trying to figure out, okay, her decisions, what she going to do, what I'm going to do. So I said, "No, I'm going to be good. I'm going to be good." I said, "I'll figure it out." My daughter said, "No, Ma, I want you to figure it out. I'm going to help you figure it out." So she started naming my friends. She was like, "Call your friends, Ma, to see what they're doing." So I'm like, well, everybody has their family. Everybody's doing their own thing. And so here I go, right, with my childhood stuff of not wanting to be a burden, even though I know my friends love me. I know when I come around my friends and my friends come around me, like, we so lit, like we have such a good time. But see, that's how your childhood trauma, will creep up in your head and try to take over, right? So in these conversations that I'm having with her, I have these thoughts of, well, I don't want to impose on nobody. So I'm not really checking on anybody to see what they're doing and how they're doing, right? Because for so many years, I hadn't. And so that's what my daughter said to me. She said, "Ma, all your friends, they love being with you. And for so many years, you've always had the things at your house. So I'm sure that they don't even know that you're really planning on being alone, right? In your introvertness." So I'm like, okay, Ayana. So I did. So I reached out to my friends, and my friends invited me to either travel with them or to come over. And so, yes, I took the invitation to come over for Thanksgiving, to go over my friend's house for Thanksgiving. And let me just say to you, family, when I went over my friend's house for Thanksgiving, me just doing that, and I guess my daughter nudging me in that way, and I think it's because she had a concern, because she was thinking that I was probably going to feel lonely. And honest to God, I don't think I would have, but since she was concerned, I just kind of just went with it, because I knew it was going to make her day better, and it wasn't going to make my day worse. And I love my friends. So I'm like, you know what? Okay. My friend was like, "Yes, absolutely. Like, what you doing? You ain't doing nothing. You better come over." So, family, when I tell you, when I went to my friend's house, I had so much fun. when I say so much fun, like so much fun, and it actually reminded me of every year before because I was there playing games. I was there eating food, lots and lots and lots of good food, like I do. I was there loving on the family there, and they was loving on me, like experiencing and exchanging love. And I was so grateful that my daughter encouraged me to go. And I was so grateful to God that I have friends that are also like my family, the whole family. Okay. So, anywho, I say all of this to say that even though sometimes you may feel like being alone, for either side, if it's an introvert or an extrovert, you may feel like, being alone during the holiday season is a okay thing to do. And you may just be choosing to do the be alone thing for, I don't know what's the story you could be telling yourself, that maybe you're a burden or it's okay to be alone. Or, I don't know if you're feeling lonely. I wasn't feeling lonely, but I'm sure, family, there's some of you who are feeling lonely because, even in sessions, I have clients and they talk about this feeling of loneliness and they feeling like maybe, a little empty inside, or maybe bored. I am going to encourage you. I'm going to encourage you to do something about your loneliness. That's what I'm going to do. Now, not about your choice to be alone. Because remember, family, being alone sometimes for everyone, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, it is a healthy thing to do. However, being alone all of the time is an unhealthy thing to do. And it really can pull up the feelings of loneliness. Okay. So, this is what I want to tell you, family. I want to share this with you because I don't want you to feel lonely. I don't want you to feel lonely. All right. So, here, your girl is here to help you. So, if you are feeling this sense of loneliness, right? Not just alone, because being alone sometimes is good. But if you're feeling this or this sense of, emptiness or feeling unwanted, I want you to really assess the fear that it brings up. What is the fear that being alone and having these feelings, what does it actually bring up? So does it bring up a fear of maybe some story that you're telling yourself, like, that I'm going to always be here, or, like I said, or I'm unwanted, or maybe that I am bothering someone, or maybe it's too much effort to go out and to be with someone else, or when you don't reach out because I don't want to seem like I'm pathetic, I don't want to seem like I'm needy. What are the stories that you could be telling yourself that's keeping you in a space of feeling lonely? You got what I'm saying? Are you telling yourself stories that are keeping you in this space? Because if the feeling is not serving you and feeling lonely is not serving you, I would ask you, what are you fearing that's keeping you here? Let's go into it. Let's open it up, right? Right? That's what I want you to do. Let's open it up and to see let's open it up. Because once you open up fear and you look it in the eye and you face it, it disintegrates. So that's the first thing we're going to do is we're going to assess the fear of being alone. And once we assess that fear, you're going to be clear because you're going to ask yourself, is it just me being alone? Because sometimes being alone is healthy. Or is it the fear of being alone because I feel lonely? So we need to do an assessment so we know what we're working with. So then the second step is we're going to do a reality check. So if you are alone, the reality check is, do I like it? And if I like it, then okay, I'll do it. But to my point, if I'm doing it for too long, then I promise myself that I'm going to do something about it. Like I am going to be intentional about not being alone for so long. And, I will have to say to you, family, that is something that I need to do. And I do. I make a choice to do that because I told you I can really be alone a lot. I really can. And it's okay. I can find things for me to do. I actually like being with myself, but I know what being alone can turn into, as I've explained. So for me, a reality check. I already know that no, Andrea. For so long, you can be alone. You can do all of those things, them grounding and on the ground and then on the floor and all that kind of stuff, reading and doing your business. But at some point, you're going to get about this house. You're going to go meet with your friends. You're going to go hang out. You're going to be intentional about connecting to your friends, which is number 3. So that's number 3, being intentional about reaching out and connecting to your friends and your family. Okay? So it's a thing that you have to do. If you are alone and you feel like maybe I like it, but I might be alone for too long, you have to be intentional about planning to reach out, getting out, and connecting to your friends and your family. If you are feeling lonely, I want you to do a reality check. If I'm feeling lonely, I don't like it because nobody likes the feeling of loneliness, then I need to do something about it. Immediately. There is no waiting until the weekend. Immediately, you need to make a phone call. You need to connect with some friends, some family. You need to do some FaceTime. You need to do something to connect to other people. One thing that we learned during the pandemic is being alone, too much of it is no good for the mental health. That's one thing that we learned during the pandemic, right? A lot of people, I did an earlier episode on touch starvation when people were feeling really lonely and they just wanted to be touched. So we know coming out of a pandemic that connecting to others is really important for our mental health. So what I'm saying is you're going to assess the fear, number 1. Then number 2, you're going to do the reality check. Am I alone too long? Okay. Let's plan to get up out of this because you're going to be intentional about getting up out of being alone. Go connect with other people, which is number 3. And if I'm feeling lonely, I'm going to do a reality check immediately. I am going to call someone. I'm going to FaceTime someone. You understand? I am going to invite somebody on a date. I'm going to invite somebody out for drinks, invite somebody out for dinner. Like I'm going to get out this house. I'm going to call my friend. Are you home? I'm getting ready to come over. If you're lonely, do something about it. You hear what I said? Do a reality check so that you can, number 3, reach out to your friends and family. I want you to do something about it. And I want you to be careful about social media when you are lonely, because let me just tell you this. Too much use of social media can increase a feeling of loneliness and depression. So, if you are feeling lonely, don't think when I say reach out to someone else, I'm not talking about through Instagram, through TikTok, through Facebook. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about I want you to physically reach out to someone else or FaceTime someone else or get on a phone call with someone else. But I'm not talking about scrolling past someone else. And if you're already in a space of feeling lonely, well, that's just going to add to it. So we need to be careful with that. Okay, family. And then the last little milk dud that I'm going to give you that is explosively amazing is to trust God always. Because the reality is that you are never alone because you always have God watching over you. Like that's just what it is. So I will say this. If you are ever in a state where you are feeling lonely, where you are feeling unwanted, where you are feeling like I'm gonna always be alone, when you telling yourself the lies and you got that fear from that, or you feeling empty, because remember, it's about that state of feeling. If you're feeling disconnected, if you're feeling isolated, the feeling of loneliness, then please connect to God, because what I'm here to tell you is that in that sense, you are never alone. He is right there. He's got your back. And so whatever it is that you need, whatever it is that you crave, you just ask him for it. You ask him for it, but you also got to do some of the work. So the work is what I've been telling you to do. You got what I'm saying? But you ask him for whatever you need and he will provide it. So I'm going to run it down to you again really quickly. So if you're feeling lonely, family, during the holidays, or some of you haven't even you just been feeling lonely, period. Okay, but we get ready to fix that. So what you're going to do is, number one, you're going to assess the fear or the stories that you're telling yourself, the narrative that you're telling yourself that's keeping you in this space of loneliness, that's keeping you here. What is it? What is it you're telling yourself? That if I reach out, I'm pathetic. If I tell somebody how I feel and I'm vulnerable, they're going to laugh at me. Like, what is it? I'm supposed to be alone. I'm going to be alone forever. I'm going to feel this lonely feeling forever. Lies. Assess the fear. What's the fear? What is the fear telling you? Okay. So that's number one. Number two, you're going to do a reality check. Now, am I alone? Because sometimes it is healthy to be alone. And then I have things that I can do alone. I can pray alone. I can meditate alone. I can take long walks. I can sing alone. I can process my thoughts alone and my feelings alone. I can do yoga alone. Okay. I can meditate alone. Like, there's so many things that you can do alone. Sometimes it's good to just learn how to be alone and be with yourself. I can learn myself when I'm alone. Okay. So we're going to do a reality check now. Am I alone? Because there's some power in being alone. Or am I lonely? And if I am lonely, I do my reality check. I see the clear distinction of what this is, because if I'm feeling lonely, then I'm feeling disconnected. I'm feeling isolated. I'm feeling emptiness, maybe unwanted. Got me? Maybe I have this fear that I'm always going to be here and this does not feel good. Then what you need to do is, number three, intentionally reach out to your friends and your family. Reach out to them. You have the power to change your state of loneliness. Reach out to your friends and family. They are looking for you. They are waiting for you. Okay? And then number four, honey, which is always, let me tell you something, the grand dame, is trust God. Connect to God, because he's always there. But faith without works is dead. So you got to trust God, but also do these steps, do the work. And so, family, those are the steps. If you find yourself feeling a sense of being alone, being lonely, and you want to do something about it, or if you really want to assess to see if it's healthy or it's unhealthy. So, so I'll end my story with just telling you guys, with this episode, with telling you that I had an amazing time for Thanksgiving. It was different than ever before, but it was freaking amazing. And then let me tell you what happened after that, family. So after I had this amazing time with my friends for Thanksgiving and their family, which is my family, because my nieces were there and they know I'm their TT. So we had a great time. But let me just tell y'all. So after this, my daughter was like, "Ma, come visit me. I got a surprise for you." So let me tell y'all that my daughter surprised me with Usher. She surprised me with floor tickets to see Usher. And when I tell you, it was everything. If Usher ever comes to your town, go see Usher, especially if you like Usher's music. I just have to say, let me tell you, my daughter is everything. She is my everything. But just the fact that she even thought of me in that way, because we had already been thinking that we had wanted to go see Usher anyway. And I was just like, oh, okay, we wanted to go to Vegas, but okay, that ship had sailed. And then, like, after Thanksgiving, she's like, told me, girl, come on, I got something for you. That's all you got to tell me. So I'm packing up my stuff and I'm going to whatever that thing is. I'm taking God with me, even though God was there too. And I'm going to get whatever that is. And especially when my baby said, let's go, we going. And when I tell y'all, she got us floor seats. And I mean, Usher was right here. Like where the screen is where you are, that's where Usher was. Okay. Cause when I go to concerts and, all of my experiences, I can't sit too far back because I can't see. Okay. So this is what I tell people all the time. When I go to places, I need to see toenails. And I'm talking about the toenails of the performers. That's like I need to be that close. I don't have a foot fetish. I'm just saying in proximity to the performer, no matter where we are, I need to be close enough to see their feet and see what they have on. I really don't do well far back. If I'm far back, I can watch it at the house. You got me? Because at least they going for the shots, the close-ups, and then I can really see them. But my girl got me these tickets, and when I tell you, it was everything. And I will say this too about Usher. Usually when you go to concerts, usually there's an intermission in the middle of concerts, like, long concerts, 3 hours. This man did not take an intermission. No intermission. You hear me? When I tell you he performed all the way through, he had so many costume changes. He sang, I do believe, every one of his songs. I mean, he was roller skating, he had skaters, he had dancers, he had strippers. Well, it was awesome. And then he did the cherry thing where he kind of went to these girls, these young girls, which I do believe is pre-planned, but he went to like these young girls in the crowd and he does this cherry thing. And the reason why I say that it's pre-planned is I'm just thinking of, anytime that I'm called to do something. So if I'm on like when I would be on Wendy Williams or Sherry Shepherd or even Nick Cannon, right? Before they call you up, when they spend all this money on production, they have already told you and asked you and prepped you for coming up doing whatever it is that you're going to do, right? So that you could be seen on camera. Nobody's just going randomly, even though you believe, because that's the thing that they sell you, that this is just a random selection. No, 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 no. You're already pre-selected before those cameras hit you. Because think about it, when in these television shows and these concerts, they spend a lot of money to put production on. And so what if you just randomly go to someone and they have stage fright or they don't perform? That's just going to screw up the interaction that you're looking for, the interaction that you're trying to give the crowd. You got me? So before they do that, they prep the people who they're going to. So my belief is that at this concert, there was some girls who they already prepped that he was gonna do the cherries with. And then I believe, this is my belief, is the people around, because now you got people in the audience around these people who going crazy because now they want Usher to put cherries in their mouth. Pause. But they want Usher to put the cherries in their mouth. So they going crazy. Now those are the spontaneous ones. And I think that Usher lights the match. And then I do believe the electricity starts to move, because then you start to see people running down where he was and asking, could he please put the cherries in their mouths? But I do believe the women that he started off with, that was already pre-planned, but that was pretty cool. So the Usher experience was amazing, and it was more than amazing because I was with my best girl in the world. Hey, Yanni, and thank you again for that. Always. So, family. that is another episode of the Mental Health is a Lifestyle podcast with your girl, Andrea Wise-Brown. And family, let me just say this to you. You don't need to be alone. Reach out to your friends and your family. Do a reality check. Is that the story that you're telling yourself? Are you really alone? Or are you just choosing to be alone? And if you're choosing to be alone and you like it, that's okay. But if you're choosing to be alone and you're feeling lonely, you have the power to do something about it. All right, family, I will see you next week on the next episode of the Mental Health is a Lifestyle podcast. I love you.